Hello, Prime Minister Trudeau. I hope you are doing well during these unprecedented times. My name is Arzu Mahajan, and I want to start off by saying thank you for taking the time to speak with me regarding an important issue pertaining to Aboriginal rights. My firm has been hard at work, and I'm looking forward to introducing the new design for a Wampum Belt, which signifies the renewed relationship and reflects the commitments of Canada in successfully consolidating the nation-to-nation relationship between Indigenous peoples and Canada. We are all familiar with the tragic history and trauma that many Indigenous peoples have faced as a result of colonization and systemic racism, from having to give up their lands to being forced to assimilate to the European standards. Indigenous peoples have endured a lot of damaging circumstances. As you can see in the design, our firm created an image of two separate lines merging into one, which represents the colonizers and Indigenous peoples merging together in hopes of working towards reconciliation, and further shows two individuals holding hands. This is meant to signify the achieved mediation. The purple figure is meant to depict Indigenous peoples across Canada and is shown specifically in purple in order to convey that they still hold their spirit and their identity as they had long before colonization occurred. The other symbols showcased are more specific to Indigenous cultures, and our firm strongly believes that they should be incorporated into the Wampum Belt for various reasons. The symbol on the top left of the belt showcases waves and is meant to represent the special relationship that Indigenous peoples have with both land and water. This will allow the Government of Canada to physically acknowledge that Aboriginal rights to the land existed prior to the incorporation of the Royal Proclamation or other colonial laws, and also recognizes the importance of existing land title. This also shows that Aboriginal peoples are being recognized as existing within their own autonomous nation and are living under the protection of the Crown while still retaining their territorial rights. They're also retaining their political organization and common laws, all of which may have arisen from Aboriginal legal systems. In addition to providing land rights, our firm also believes the waves can represent the issues that persist with regards to restrictions and lack of resources, specifically towards water, in many Indigenous communities and reserves. PM Trudeau, our firm noticed that during the 2015 federal election campaign, the Liberal government had pledged to lift all long-term drinking water advisories in First Nation communities by March 2021. However, in October of 2020, it was announced that this target was no longer going to be met. This highlights the need for larger action to be taken by the Canadian government in order to successfully achieve reconciliation and effectively advocate for Indigenous peoples, which is the aim of this new Wampum Belt design. Our firm supports the use of Indigenous research methodologies as well as engaging Indigenous perspectives in order to achieve a more safe and sustainable future for both Indigenous communities and Canada. Next, the symbol with the cross is meant to represent a medicine wheel, which for the purpose of this belt and design represents the overall culture, traditions, and teachings of Indigenous peoples. Within Indigenous communities, there is a great emphasis given towards language as a source of maintaining both identity and culture for the people who are speaking it. This emphasizes why the implementation of residential schools by colonizers can be seen as an attempt to eradicate Indigenous cultures. Further, the significance of women as per the creation story told by Indigenous people that's also something that should be noted, as it emphasizes the importance of women towards all of existence. However, the convoluted ways of colonization have instead twisted and reduced the responsibility of Indigenous women to simply being givers of life and teachers. In order for this belt to signify the hope of peace and reconciliation, these ideas must be translated into the belt in a clear manner. This ties into the next symbol that my firm has come up with. The symbol of the arch below the waves is an Indigenous symbol for person, and the idea behind this is to simply reiterate that although Canada as a nation has had a troubling history of attempting to assimilate Indigenous cultures, it now fully acknowledges and respects each Indigenous individual and their respective rights and ways of existing. The last symbol, containing a drawing of a scale, is meant to signify the positive relationship that can and should exist between Indigenous and Canadian legal relations. Building community-based research relationships can be vital in restoring the damage that has occurred as a result of colonization. In order to successfully achieve this restoration, we all need to work together to unmask the domination code that is often used to justify the lack of rights given to Indigenous peoples. Once we recognize that no group is better or worse due to differences in culture, religion, societies, or way of living, and work to rewrite the Canadian government in a means that accepts each individual, then and only then will we be able to renew the relationship and achieve harmony and mutual respect between the two nations. Our firm hopes that by offering the new Wampum Belt and solutions to these issues raised here today, we may begin the journey towards reconciliation. Again, I would just like to say thank you for your time. I hope that the design that our firm has illustrated has successfully demonstrated the willingness of Canada to collaboratively work with Indigenous communities towards reconciliation. However, if you have any suggestions or changes that you would like to propose, please let me know, and my firm and I will do our best to incorporate those ideas into the new Wampum Belt design. Thank you.